Alright, so this is the tutorial for part 1 of just making a general human model. So what we're going to do this is just start a new document, and then we're just going to go ahead and use Z-spheres to make the base mesh. So use Z-spheres, I'm going to click and draw one. I'm going to hold shift just so it snaps. Okay. Just make the first one, and then I'm just going to go ahead and hit T, or you can go up here and hit edit, and now we can work with it in 3D space. Okay. I like to put the floor on so I know exactly what we're looking at here, and see how there's a blue line there. That means that this is the front. This is the Z axis. Blue being on this side means this is the front and this is the back. So the other thing that's happening is this isometric mode. So actually first, right now I can rotate in all these like weird ways that I don't want to. I want to kind of keep it turntable style, so I'm going to make it Y, so it tries to keep the Y axis straight. And I'm also going to put it on perspective, just because it's a little bit easier to work with. All right. If you look, you can see I can draw one here, but see how it's just on the side. Because I'm doing a human, I need to make it symmetrical, so I'm just going to hit X, and that gives me X symmetry. If I hit X again, it goes off. You can also do it by going to let's see, transform, and then you just activate symmetry, and it should be on X by default. Okay, so I'm just going to hit X again, so that until you'll see it snaps. All right, so I'm going to draw one on the top, like so. And then if I just click down here, there's a chance that it'll try to draw from there to here instead of drawing off of this one. So it's a good idea to actually click off and then draw the next one. So I'm going to draw one here. All right, good. Now I'm going to rotate to the side, and I'm going to hit W for the move tool, or you can just push it up there. And I'm going to try my best to get that to work. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn perspective back off. Okay, so picturing this being the belly, okay? This being the hips, and then this basically being the costal region or the rib cage. Okay, so again, so this is W, E, and R, and then Q would be your normal draw tool. So I'm just going to use those in order to move my various things. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit E for scale, and I'm just going to scale the rib cage up, and then W, move it forward a little bit. Take this, move this one forward a little bit. Something like that. Okay, good. All right, so there's that. What might help actually is so yeah, the thing I was suggesting that you do is to go online and find a model. You can even use yourself. Take a picture of like a front of you and a side of you, or if you can do the same thing. Try not to use other people's drawings. This is actually, I'm going to use this as a guide because this is Albinus Drawing Anatomy. It's a book, but it's a pretty well-known book, and it's kind of a standard. But I'm going to use this as kind of a guide for proportion and such by looking at these various pieces here in order to inform me on how my proportions and things should be. And also just intuitively, I will, I've done a lot of this, so I'm going to base off of that. But I'm going to put this on the side, but I'm looking at this while I'm working, just to be aware of that. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on the side one. Okay. All right, so I'm looking at that, and I'm over here, and what am I on? I'm on move. Okay, so I'm going to put this up a little bit higher, put this up a little bit like that, and okay, let's see, that's good. I'm looking at the front. I'm going to just scale these a little bit bigger. Just feel like everything's a little bit small, something more like that. Okay, now I'm going to go back and hit Q for the draw again, and I'm going to draw the neck. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to draw a neck. And I'm going to immediately move that down a little bit. And you'll notice that the neck is somewhat pointing forward. Okay. You got to be careful about going too far with that. I'm going to scale this up a little bit. Okay. Move this down a little bit more. Now you notice if you go too far, it'll kind of cut in and get weird. So you got to make sure you're good on that. Okay. Now I'm going to draw another one. Okay. Make sure that you do it correctly. All right. And W. All right, so oops, Control C. So you notice it's moving two at once. That's because of the size of my brush. If I make my brush smaller, so I would just make your brush really small. It'll only go with the one that you grabbed. In this case, it's still grabbing two. So I'm not really 100% sure why that's happening. But put this back down pretty low. Okay, take this guy, put this guy down. Scale this up a little bit. Take this one, scale this one up a little bit. Okay. All Alright, and now I'm going to draw another one. So Q, and I'm going to make this more or less the head. Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright, so head, now I'll just use the move tool, and I'm going to try make this smaller again, and try to get this roughly to where I think it should be. I'm going to scale this a little bit bigger. Okay, over like that. Hit Q for the draw tool, and I'm going to draw where I want the jaw to be, which should be right there. And I'm going to move this pretty tight to something like that. This looks a little bit big still. This then is a little bit big. Alright. Alright, okay, so we're going to call that okay. Good. Now I'm going to go back to the draw, and I'm going to draw my arms here. So I'm going to draw the shoulder first. Alright, W, oops. Alright, I must have W. Alright, pull this in closer. Alright. Say that that's okay. Back to Q for the draw. Draw another one. W for the move tool. Or not. Try that again. Alright. Pull that down. Just back in a little bit more. Okay. Pull this down. And we're going to scale this in a little. Scale that in a little bit. Pull this out a little bit. Just gonna look at my picture here. Okay. So I'm just looking at this as a guide to try and think proportionately how this is all working out. So I'm looking at the head, looks a little bit large, and the arm looks a little wide. Okay, so just constantly be checking your references. Okay, so I'm going to shrink this down a little. Back up, move this down a little, like that. Move this back a touch, move this back a touch, scale it a little bit, something like that. Okay, and then this needs to be scaled a little bit more. That looks okay. This needs to be brought down a little bit. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to do Q and draw another arm piece. If I hold shift, it'll actually snap to the size of the previous one, no matter how big it is, or how small. Okay, so I'm just going to hold shift to make the same size. I'm going to use W for the move. And I am going to pull this back up. Take you. Good. Alright. So something like that. Like that. Pull this way slightly. Pull this way slightly. Give it a slight bend in the arm. Alright, because we're looking for kind of a default A pose. Alright. And trying to make this as accurate as possible now, because it'll just be easier later. Okay. And I'm going to take this and actually shrink this a little bit. Alright. And then I'm just going to Q and make another one that's just going to be basically the palm of my hand. Okay. And just going to get that to move this way a little. Something like that. I'm just going to actually leave it that size. Okay. And that looks okay. So then I'll just do my leg. I'll select Q again. And I'm going to draw basically where the hips come out. W, put this here, scale this down a little. Something like that. Alright, and W, and more straight. Okay. Q, draw another one. W for the move. Pull this down, put this one back up where it was. Make sure you have a little bit of a gap there. If these get really close, when it goes to make the mesh, this will actually start to blend together, which is not something you want. Okay. Scale this down. So basically the idea is that from the knee should be the same as this. It should be roughly this length. So I'm just going to try and eyeball that. So it should be roughly about there-ish. Okay, and I'm going to go slightly forward. Looks good. All right, and then I'm just going to hit Q to do the next one. Draw my next piece here. W for the move. Back up there. Back up there. And we're going to try to do our best here. Let's scale this down. Alright, move this over a little. Probably should move this in a little bit. Something like that. Alright. Looking at my guy, this looks like it needs to be a little bit shorter. Maybe not quite that short. Alright. So that's just trying to be real particular about it so that, and I'll hit, I'm just going to Control S to save this real quick. Okay, and then I'll hit A to preview the model. This is what we're looking at so far. I feel like this is a little bit long, his legs. Bring those in just a touch. Okay. Alright, so next is to do the feet here. So I'm going to Q, draw the front of the foot. And I'm just going to shrink this a little bit actually first. It makes it easier to move it. Get back there. Okay. And that should go like that. And like that. And something like that. That looks okay. Okay. Alright, and I'm going to draw one in the back just to strengthen the heel as well. So I Q, and just a little bit there, and W, make this draw size smaller, and just barely poking out there. Okay, good. It's just that way when I do preview, you can see it gives a little bit of a stronger ankle. Okay. Alright, good. So the next thing to do is basically the fingers, which this is terrible, so well, actually, even before I do the fingers, so let's do this. Just going to look at this guy and just see if there's anything proportionate wise that doesn't look. He looks like he's okay. It's not great, but you want to try and make it as perfect as possible. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do the fingers and try and do this relatively quickly, and I'll probably pause it and just show you what the end looks like, but I'll show you how I started anyway. So Q, to get the draw tool, I got to do the thumb first. Okay, so W, and I'm just going to draw it and then push it in basically as far as it will go. Then Q, click off so I don't accidentally draw on the same one. Oops, so I did that actually accidentally twice. So do my index finger. Alright, W, and then I'll do Q. Alright, then W, push that in a little, and Q. Okay, W, push that in a little, and then Q, draw the next one, and something like that, and then do W, and basically I just got to go through and try to position these as best I can. Okay, there, there. So I'm looking at it, and they appear to be a little bit quite where I want them. It's got to come down this way a little. Like that. Try to get them as close as possible to the right positioning. And make this one a little bit bigger. Okay. Do a little bit bigger. Do a little bit bigger. Something like that. Alright. And then basically I'll just do Q. Boom. I'm going to pull this down, and I'll do that for each one of these. I'm just going to pause it real quick. So what I did is I just moved them. I drew them down like this. And then afterwards what I would tell you to do is just use the Q tool and draw ones in between. And then just kind of pull them out and do that for each one of these.